Good morning, everybody. Hello, this is Pill Talk with Dr. Bartou. I got my good friend, special guest, Dr. Martez Prince, the founder of Premier Pharmacy in Charlotte, North Carolina. Excuse me, not just a pharmacy, a wellness center in Charlotte, North Carolina. They're doing great things. Got an outreach with Premier Foundation. He helps pharmacists start and consult with pharmacists on lifestyle and starting up their own pharmacy. No further introductions. Dr. Prince, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. What about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm gonna say this is a special podcast because this is the first time I actually did a podcast with a friend. Most of the time I do a lot of podcasts, but it's usually people I've never met before and probably won't get a chance to meet in person. So this is really cool. So thanks for the invitation. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. So I just want to get a little bit into your background. Let's start from the beginning a little bit. And know, how did you go from working retail to getting a vision to starting your own Black-owned pharmacy / wellness center?
Yeah, so it actually kind of happened by coincidence. It wasn't really I grew up in an independent pharmacy. I started working at a pharmacy at age 16, which happened to be a Black-owned pharmacy. However, that was about 20 years ago almost. And during that time, it was very, there was a lot of independent pharmacies, but they kind of started to phase out as the big chain drugstores started to become more popular. And then when the recession happened as well, a lot of pharmacies, especially independent pharmacies, closed down. Well, so I never really thought that I would be owning a small pharmacy or independent pharmacy. I just was I knew I wanted to do community pharmacy because community is my passion. However, I was working for a big box drugstore, and then I realized that there was a lot of components that was missing that was really necessary for these patients to actually be well. And when I realized that there was a void there, I thought that, what, I love being a pharmacist. However, I don't enjoy working as a pharmacist under these conditions. And I thought to myself, if I could change anything, it would be how I practice. And that's where the idea kind of came about. It was very fast. It happened within 4 months. So the idea came, I started talking to friends. I got the momentum from them, and then I decided to just go full forward with it. And 4 months later, we had Premier Pharmacy and Wellness Center, and it was open and was born.
Man, that's amazing to go from an idea to actually having it in 4 months. That's hard work, dedication. Could you go through a little bit of the process with doing that, or would you mind?
Yeah. So, of course, like I said, I had no idea that I wanted to own a pharmacy. I didn't really even know if it was honestly possible or what all it would take. But it just required a lot of research. I see that they had different classes out there that would teach you the process and everything, but they were all $40,000, $50,000. And they were a weekend course. And I did not, of course, have $40,000, $50,000 to do that. And so I just started to do a lot of research on my own, realizing all the necessary steps it would take to actually make this happen. Doing research on how long different phases of licensure would take and everything. And I really just learned the process kind of right there on the spot. And, so everything, like I say, when something is really truly for you, everything just kind of starts to fall in place. So even though I didn't really know what I was doing at the beginning, as the ball started rolling, everything just started falling into place. I started realizing how everything connected to, one another. Then I started to, of course, solicit friends for help because I needed help with funding, just due to the fact that anytime you start a small business, especially without having any business experience, banks are always going to be very hesitant on, giving you any loans or anything like that. So I sought out the private investors, which were all my friends that I partied with, had fun with, club with, all those good things. So I knew that they had the extra cash that they would, that they had the extra cash. However, I needed to show that I was very serious with what I was doing. And then also how this was going to work. So once I was able to demonstrate that, I was able to solicit those private investors, you know, got the ball rolling. 4 months later, open. And here we are 5 years later, being a operation, you know, generating revenue in the multi-million dollars. And it's been such a blessing to be on that journey and to be able to make it successful, especially in a way where a lot of other independent pharmacies were seeming to struggle, and they reached out to me a lot, asking me like, how do you do it? You know, so it's been such a blessing.
I gotta say, I gotta commend you once again for starting it, because a lot of small businesses shut down within the first 1 to 2 years. And then a lot of Black-owned businesses don't even last probably that long. So being here for 5 years, being a multi-million-dollar company, and doing all the great things you're doing in the community, I have to commend you again, man. Appreciate you for being out there and doing the right thing for the community.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. But, you know, also the thing too is like having that support system, like even like having friends like you, you know, my friends like Aaron, D. Clay, like so many different like pharmacists. Like it's one thing to have support from, you know, the community, but when it starts with that like solid friendship, solid foundation, because they really do push you. That's why I never like miss the opportunity to say thank you to those friends, because at the beginning, when starting a pharmacy, you know, you're relying on those friends to tell you that it's going to work, to encourage you, that it's going to, that, you know, that you can do it. And that those words of encouragement do push you forward and do propel you forward. And it's very important.